Hi everyone, my name is Dylan. I'm the ideas carrier for the Decolonizing Advisory Service prototype. As its name suggests, we were hoping to set up a social enterprise originally, a sort of consultancy business to provide support for global north organizations wishing to decolonize. The idea now has shifted somewhat to being more of a platform of experts from the Global South, which will be hosted and coordinated by WAXI, which will bridge that gap between the supply and the demand for decolonizing advice. So it's not so much a consultancy business, but much more a platform really to bring together some Global South activists who care passionately about this issue and link them with Global North actors who are wishing to transform themselves. So where are we right now? In terms of the prototype, we're still looking at the demand. So we're trying to understand whether this demand really exists. We know that there is already a supply of very passionate activists from the Global South, but what we really want to understand is, does the demand from the Global North exist, or will they actually try and do this work internally? So we're very much at the framing stage of the process, still trying to figure out exactly that supply and demand issue and trying to make sure that that works well. But WAXI are really behind this and hosting this, and we've got some funding as well behind us. So we're really looking forward to working with you all on this. I hope you can help us craft and refine the idea further so that this can fly. Thank you.
This is the prototype on language and inclusive communication, or language and lexicon. The overall or main thrust is to explore the use of technology to enable more inclusive communication that is less or not at all or pejorative, less sexist, less colonial, and making sure that it's more accessible to the Global South practitioners. It's a prototype that is two-in-one. One is really focusing on the lexicon, where we are drawing up a language grid of idioms, sentences, and phrases, which we think need to be banned because they are colonial in nature. And on this grid, we providing alternative suggestions. The second bit of the prototype, or the second strand, is undertaking an online translation using Google Translate or other non-proprietary platforms. That is a bit where we're slightly not quite advanced, because we are trying to get some tech-savvy people on the team. But on the first strand, I think we are moving pretty fast as we build on other work on the lexicon. For us, we as a team, we are persuaded that without a meaningful language change, systems change will definitely remain superficial, if at all. I think in terms of stage where we are, we're definitely beyond the framing stage. We are not at a testing stage, as we've not been able to get an INGO that could be our guinea pig. But I think we can comfortably say we are at the building stage of the prototype. Thank you.
Pledge for Change is prototyping an accountability and learning mechanism that's collective for the signatories of the Pledge for Change, which is a set of organizational commitments to decolonize international NGOs. And what we're testing is an accountability and learning mechanism that goes beyond self-reporting and the usual conventional methods, and combines some new ways of collective accountability. And the other element that is of great interest for this testing period is for this accountability mechanism to be housed and led by a Southern entity in a Global South. We are somewhere between framing and building it. We have a host, we have key design elements that have been contributed to by all of the members of the prototyping team, and just waiting for the Pledge for Change process itself to align so that we can take the next step in testing.
Hi there. This is the Risk and Compliance Prototype Group. Just a short update. We're the group that is looking at the stuckness within the system in relation to compliance and risk management, acknowledging that very often trust levels are low, that there is a very bureaucratic managerial approach to risk and compliance, which tends to push down all the burden to the local change makers and indeed also the intermediaries. So we're trying to reimagine this. And as a first step, what we are exploring is how maybe some of the under or unconnected actors within that value chain could actually be brought together, and through such an encounter possibly could gain a better appreciation of each other's realities, motivations that they face, and hopefully through that build trust and a relationship that can maybe result to more flexible arrangements in relation to risk and compliances, arrangements that are more suitable for the local context. So we're designing for such a brave encounter, a facilitated conversation where we seek to connect, listen and see, learn and explore. So that's where we're at. We're still looking for 1 or 2 testing grounds where we can test this prototype, this encounter. We had 1 location but had to pull back because of some external reasons. So we're still looking within the RINGO network for such a prototype testing ground, 1 or 2, and then can finalize our design. That's where we're at. Back to you.
Our PGM prototyping journey is becoming more attractive because our key stakeholders are getting convinced that a participatory grant-making model that is Southern-led and have a common meeting point for the North and the South would disrupt the existing power dynamics in the donor space and provide critical learning for a relationship that is more accountable, a relationship built on common principle, and a relationship that is sustainable. Our journey so far has seen stakeholders at local level, subnational levels in the system. But this is unique in the sense that it starts from the South and creating space for the North and the South to meet. We are happy that we are moving away from just framing our ideas to building, and we will soon test our idea. Thank you.
Our prototype sought to design a multi-stakeholder process that bridges communities' voices into the discourse of a just transition framework of the energy sector from non-renewable to renewable energy in the Philippines. The idea came from our long experience in facilitating multi-stakeholder group on energy concerns, bridging civil society, communities, local governments, and the private sector in a problem-solving process on issues related to the impact of coal-fired power plants in Mindanao, Philippines. Currently, we are in the framing process together with our coach, Deborah, identifying appropriate design and process in prototyping. It has been an iterative process even in terms of engagement with potential and other coaches. Finding the best mix between our idea and how we envision the process and available expertise within RINGO and its network. Finally, we have agreed to conduct bi-monthly meetings focused on discussions on updates on our context, what adjustments that needs to be done, what are the gaps, where we can access expertise, and we can say that it has been a two-way and very productive learning process.